Alright, so I've picked 6 problems that I'm going to complete and review with you guys today based off of the votes that were actually sent in. Just remember that you need to make sure you show all of your work on these assignments, even the ones that I'm going through right now. If you didn't do these, you need to write them down because you will have another assignment today that you need to complete. Alright, so number 2, it says Books A Million sells new books. Paperback books cost $3. Hardback books sell for $8. The store sold 35 books and made $150 from the sales. How many hardback books did the store sell? So we're going to go through the whole process just like we've done before with the know, the need to know, so that we have everything organized, which is what I expect you to guys be doing on the review that you actually did. So we know that the paperback books, they cost $3, and we know the hardback books cost $8. We also know that they sold 35 books at a price equaling $150. Now, we need, in this problem, we need to find our 2 equations. So once we have our 2 equations, then we're going to have to find how many hardback books did the store sell. So we're looking for hardback books. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do now is with my organizing work is I'm going to define my variables. So I'm just going to say that X is going to be the number of paperbacks and Y is going to be the number of hardbacks. Alright, and then we need to start with our equations. So our equations here are going to be, we're going to have 2 of them. We're going to have an equation that represents how much everything is. So we're going to have a dollar amount equation. And then we're also going to have how many equation. So how many books did they sell? So when I'm looking at this, the how much, so the paperbacks are going to be $3. So 3x plus hardbacks was $8, so 8y equals $150. And then they sold a total number of 35 books. So we don't know how many hardback, we don't know how many paperback, but we know x plus y equals 35. Now, I did ask that you solve this one by hand. These are both in standard form. Since they're both in standard form, that means that we're going to need to solve this using elimination. So this is definitely going to be an elimination problem. So we're solving for hardback, so therefore I know that we're going to be solving for y. So if we're going to solve for y, the best thing for us to do is to eliminate x. Alright, so in order to eliminate x, I'm going to multiply my bottom equation by 3. That's going to make my coefficients the same. And so I'm now going to have the 2 equations. So I'm going to have 3x plus 8y equals 150 from the top. And then I'm going to have 3x plus 3y. And then I have 35 times 3. That's going to be 15. Carry my 1. That's going to be 9. So that's going to be 105. So now, with this, I have the same coefficient. So we're going to eliminate x, which is going to be my paperback. And since we have that, they're both positive. So we're going to subtract. Alright, so I have 3x minus 3x, that's going to cancel. 8y minus 3y, that's going to give me 5y. 150 minus 105, so that's going to cause to be 10. Drop that down to a 4. So we're going to have 5, 4, and then 0. So divide by 5. And y is going to equal 9. So they sold 9 hardback books. Again, we asked to solve for y. That's what we got. If this were an open-ended question, you would have just put in the number 9, and that's it. No y equals, no variables, no anything. All right, number 4 was also, it asked you to solve the system. So if you're asked to solve the system, they're asking you to find x and y. They're asking you to find both. So what do we know about this problem? Well, we know that we have 2 equations, and they're both in standard form. So we have 2 equations in standard form. So we need, in order to make this problem work, we need to find 2 of the same coefficient. That may be x, that may be y, but we need 2 of the same coefficient. Alright, so I'm going to organize this and work this problem out. If I'm looking, I've got 2x minus y equals 16. And I got negative 6x minus 3y equals negative 24. So honestly, either way would be just as easy. Really just depends on what you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and eliminate my x's first. So I have 2 and 6. I can easily turn my 2 into a 6 by multiplying by 3. Now that is negative, but I'm just going to go ahead and multiply by 3. So then actually for this one, I'm going to wind up adding the pieces because one will be positive and one will be negative. So this is going to be 6x minus 3y. And then I have 16 times 3. So that's going to be 18. Carry my 1. So that's going to be 48. And then I'm going to bring down negative 6x minus 3y equals negative 24. Now again, I have 6x minus 6x. So since one is positive and one is negative, this is going to be one of those situations where I'm actually going to add. Because one is positive and one is negative, so to eliminate it, it's actually going to need to be added. So 6x plus negative 6x, that cancels. Negative 3y plus negative 3y, that's going to be negative 6y. And 48 plus negative 24, or 48 minus 24, is going to give me positive 24. Divide by negative 6. And y equals negative 4. Now, we found the y value, so in my coordinate that I'm trying to write, we found negative 4. But now we need to find the x. So it doesn't really matter which one you pick, but you're going to pick one of the original. So I'm going to pick the first one, and I'm going to substitute in negative 4. Now it's already minus, but when I plug in my negative, so it's going to be minus a negative, which I hope we all can agree on is going to turn into plus 4. So I'm going to subtract 4. So 2x is now going to equal 12, and x equals 6. Now, I did ask you guys to do this by hand, but I hope we can all agree that you can always go into Desmos and plug in your values the same way. So I can still do you have 2x minus y equals 16. So 2x minus y equals 16. And negative 6x minus 3y equals negative 24. So negative 6x minus 3y equals negative 24. All right, again, we can always find our point is going to be 6, negative 4, which is exactly what we found. So, yes, I asked you to do them by hand, but please check yourself and just make sure that you got it correct. All right, so the next one, I have Shay spent $157 on shirts, Fancy shirts cost $28 and plain shirts cost $15. She bought a total of 7 shirts, and then they want to know how many fancy shirts did she buy. So what do we know? So in the problem, we know that she spent a total of $157 on all shirts. And we also know that she bought a total of 7 shirts. So that's going to be a big deal when we write our equations. The other thing we know is that fancy shirts is going to cost $28. And plain shirts is going to cost $15. So they want us to find the fancy shirts. So what do we need? Well, we need to, let's see, we need 2 equations. And then from those equations, we need to find out how many fancy shirts did she buy. That's what we're looking for. Now, if I remember correctly, number 6 was calculator active. However, I did ask that you write your equation, so I hope that we did that for all of our problems. If we did not, please go back and do that before I return on Wednesday. So for my organizing and working this problem out, my 2 equations are going to be the price equation. So again, we're going to have a how much and a how many. So we need to know the dollar amount, and we also need to know how many shirts they bought total. So for the price, we know that fancy shirts, one thing I did forget is we need to say X is going to be our fancy shirts and Y is going to be our plain shirts. So always remember to do that so you know what you're solving for. Alright, so fancy shirts is going to be $28 for the fancy. So 28X plus $15 for the plain is a total of $157. Then how many total? Well, she bought a total of 7. So X plus Y is 7. Now, we are solving for fancy shirts. So fancy shirts, we should be aware that fancy shirts is going to be X. So we are solving for X here. So I can go put this right into Desmos. So we had 28X plus 15Y equaled $157. And then I also had X plus Y equals 7. My intersection of the 2, and you should have gotten 4, 3. So I have 4, 3, but we're solving for fancy. So fancy is going to be 4. So if you were typing this in as your answer choice, you would only type in the number 4, and that's it. You wouldn't type X equals 4, just the number 4. All right, number 7. So we have 3 times Bonnie's age plus Josiah's age equals 56. Bonnie's age is twice of Josiah's age. How old is Bonnie? So what do we know? Well, we know that, so we have 3 times Bonnie's age. So 3 times means we're going to multiply by 3. So 3 times Bonnie plus Josiah equals 56. And we also know that Bonnie's age is, remember, is equal twice of Josiah's age. So we want to know how old is Josiah, or how old is Bonnie. So what do we need? Well, we need 2 equations. And once we have those 2 equations, we're going to need to solve for Bonnie. We need to know Bonnie's age. Now, this is calculator active. I'm going to show you the answer in the calculator, but I'm also going to show you how to do this by hand, because when we set this up, you'll see that it's substitution, and I want to make sure we review that. So I'm going to organize this out. So let's say that X is Bonnie and Y is Josiah. So we have 3 times Bonnie, so 3X plus Josiah's Y is 56. And then Bonnie is, so Bonnie equals 2 times Josiah. Now again, I hope we can agree that this is substitution. And the reason it's substitution is because we have one equation that is solved for. I have x equals here. I'm going to get the answer in the Desmos, and then I'm going to show you, go back and review that. So in Desmos, we're going to have 3x. So I have 3x plus y equals 56. And then x equals, let me make sure I'm right about this, 2 times Josiah. So 2 times Josiah, so 2y. All right, now we can see clearly here that there is only one line. I need to zoom that out and adjust. So I got 16 and 8. So 16 and 8 is what I got. So the problem asked me to solve for Bonnie. Well, Bonnie is x. So we should have gotten the answer as 16. Again, I'm going to verify that using substitution. So remember, on the left-hand side of your table to organize, I'm going to have x equals 2y. And on the right hand, I'm going to have 3x plus y equals 56. So it is x equals, so we're going to take x equals 2y, and we're going to substitute it in for the x variable. Remember, whatever the variable equals is the spot that you're going to plug it in. So this is going to turn into 3. And in the x spot, I'm going to put parentheses, and that's going to be 2y plus y equals 56. So that's going to be 3 times 2y is going to be 6y plus y equals 56. So that's going to be 7y equals 56. And we're going to divide by 7. And y is equal to 8. Now, we solved for Josiah. Remember, the problem asked us for Bonnie. So in order to finish this problem, we're going to have to take 8, and we're now going to substitute it back in. So this is going to be x equals 2 times 8. So obviously that's going to turn into 16. All right, number 8. It says the number of houses for sale in Greenville equals 2 times the number of houses for sale in Farmville, minus 40. The total number of houses in both areas, 1,216. The equation below represents that information. Now, before I even get started, I'm already seeing a discrepancy here. So we have 1,216, and then we have 1,241. So let me actually go check this. And we'll check the number as we go along and see which one actually works and gives us the right answer. First thing I'm going to do here is, what do I know? Well, I know I have 2 equations. So in my 2 equations, I know that I have a G and a F, which is not going to work if I'm plugging it into Desmos. So I'm definitely going to have to transfer that G and the F over to X and Y. So we need to figure out Greenville. And let's go ahead and say that Greenville is X and Farmville is Y. All right, so if we transfer that over, I have Greenville is X, so X equals 2y minus 40. And I have X plus Y equals, so we're going to start with the 1241, which is the equations that were given. And then we'll see if we actually need to put 1216. So if I were doing this one by hand, this would definitely be a substitution problem because I have X equals. This is something that I'm going to plug into Desmos, so I'm going to go and put this in. So I have X equals 2y minus, and we have 40. And And then we have x plus y. And we have 1241. Now again, this is going to be zoomed out, so we're going to need to adjust this. Okay. I think this one is going to work for our purposes here. If I change this, what was the other one? 1216. Yeah, so we get those decimals, so that was just a typo for there. So we're going to stick with 1241. So for 1241, we get 814 and 427. So we have 814 and 427. We already said in the problem that Greenville was X, which is what we're solving for. So your answer should have been 814. All right, and number 12. It says the state fair is a popular field trip destination. The senior class of high school A and the senior class of high school B both plan their trips there. The senior class in high school A rented and filled 8 vans and 8 buses with 600 students. High school B filled 4 vans and 1 bus for 220 students. How many students will need to ride in the vans? So what do we know? Well, we know we have 2 high schools, and in high school A, we know that they took 8 vans, 8 buses, and they took a total of 600 students. So we also know that high school B, they took 4 vans and 1 bus, but they only took 120 students. So really, through that information, we kind of already wrote the equations for this. So what do we need? Well, we need the 2 equations. We need to finalize those. And we also need to figure out how many students can ride in a van. So we want to know how many students can ride in one van. Alright, so we're going to organize this. So we are going to, let's just say that X is going to be the vans and the Y is going to be the buses. So we should have 8X plus 8Y equals 600. And we have 4X plus 1Y equals 120. Alright, so again, we are going to put this in Desmos. This was calculator active. So I'm going to move this over. So we have 8x plus 8y equals 600. And the other one was 4x and 1y. So 4x plus 1y equals 120. So this one, I went back to the home button so I could kind of adjust my screen a little bit better. So we have 15 and 60. So 15 and 60 was my solution. However, they asked us for how many can ride in a van, which is x. So x is 15. So my final solution is 15. I hope this helps you. Again, make sure you complete all of the work for the study guide. Make sure you turn that in. And you also have 10 more problems that are going to be graded for correctness. Make sure you read all the details and everything that's included of what you need to do.